So
So
we
yeah.
start things off with a video recap of Redemption and the big closing angle involving Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. And we actually see like backstage footage of the Death Riders, led by John
Hmm.
Moxley, who were just, essentially like attacked by Will Ospreay, going to the back and watching the scene between Ospreay and Omega unfold in front of them. So you have Mox essentially kind of like doing commentary and saying, you know, why like Ospreay, attack him first, attack him before he attacks you. And of
Yeah.
course, Kenny Omega attacks Will Ospreay, and Mox
Hmm.
gives this big "I told you so" in a promo that was
Yeah.
just awesome. He
Yeah.
says though that Ospreay may now truly be the best wrestler in the world now that he has nothing left to lose. Or did he say that about Kenny? And was I wrong?
Okay. I wasn't entirely sure because it's sort of, he mumbles a bit, but I mean, you could make the argument for either of them, but except that Kenny very much does have something to lose because he's the title.
Well, true
So,
of both of them, at least in
hmm,
this instance. So,
yeah.
present day, we see Osprey running into the Death Riders outside the arena. As Daniel Garcia goes for a hug, Osprey just decks him with a hidden blade from a very close distance. Osprey tells Mox that you don't get to pull the trigger for me, and he throws his Death Riders patch back at
Foreshadowing,
him. Pull the
pulling
trigger.
triggers. Yes.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. So he gives Mox his Death Riders patch back and says he's out. So this seems to officially confirm his exit from the Death Riders. Mox then tells the Death Riders to retreat, and this leads us to Hangman Page, who shows up to confront Page. Oh, sorry, to confront Osprey. He tells Osprey that he knows how he feels with the pressure of the world on his shoulders heading into the biggest show of the year, and he tells Osprey that if he needs anything, he's there. Osprey, at this point, still very tense from the Death Riders interaction, says that everybody hates him right now. The Death Riders, he doesn't trust Kenny. He even mentions the United Empire. And he
Hmm.
says that he can't trust Page either. Page just straight up tells him he's going to walk into Wembley and he's going to be the best he's ever been, and tells him he's got this. So we see Page returning now. Now that he's no longer going for a championship, he's kind of playing an older brother role. You know, your brother who's
Hmm.
kind of graduated high school, who's coming back to like maybe give you advice on like how to ask somebody out for a prom date or something. What do you think of Page's role in all of this, and what do you think about the segment overall?
I first of all, I absolutely loved the video cut up of like showing the Death Riders sort of doing play by play, as it were, of the end sequence of Redemption. Might actually have been more effective than seeing it in person, where I thought it dragged a little. But yeah, so I love that. I think that the interaction between Moxley and Osprey, Moxley and Osprey continues to be really compelling.
Mm-hmm.
I like the sort of shift in Page where it's almost like sort of he's a character who's generally very sort of like sincere and serious, that kind of, and this he almost seemed a bit lighter, like kind of, as you said, like the big brother, but it's not his fight.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's just sort of, he has a bit of critical emotional distance. Now, who knows how long that lasts? But I thought it was an interesting way to reintroduce it, and then sort of puts him in this mix with this already sort of intriguing relationship. I think, yeah, it's adding another kind of nuanced character to the mix here. And he doesn't, it's hard to tell like what his direction is in terms of like what belts he's going to go after, or if he's good, like what story he's going to be involved with. So I like this role for him. I still don't know. Like, I'm glad that he's back. I guess we got to, spoiler alert for later on in the show, we do get to see him hit a couple of moves, but I don't know if that means he's back sort of able to wrestle, or if they're just sort of gradually working him back into the mix.
I continue to be really intrigued by this Osprey, Moxley, Omega storytelling. All of these segments
Hmm.
have really kind of like been the best on these shows in quite some time. And tonight, I well certainly was that. And the addition of
Yeah.
Paige into this entire storyline, I think only makes it more compelling. You know. So now that Osprey continues to
Yeah.
like lose friends, he's really not great at making friends, is he? Like, you know, Swerve is gone. Death Riders are gone. United Empire's gone. Kenny was his friend.
Yeah.
That's gone now. So Paige, look out. I mean, you know, I'm not expecting great things about this relationship in about 4 months, but I'm intrigued
It
by all of it. Give me
but
all of
yeah.
these matches. They all look great.
Well, and certainly like AEW has made a stock and trade with characters who are more complicated, like not as straightforward as, you know, sort of old fashioned wrestling. And so if you're talking about, yeah, with Kenny and Osprey and Moxley, Hangman fits right into that. Like he's another piece of that puzzle. If they find a way to work Swerve into this as well, all the better. Like.
So then we got our big main event segment here. This was billed as Kenny Omega speaks, but of course he is quickly interrupted by Will Ospreay, who comes out, and Omega says this is perfect because he has a lot to say to Will Ospreay. Omega says, I showed you at Redemption how I felt, and it didn't matter if the fans misunderstood because I thought you would understand, but now I'm not so sure. He says, Will, I care about you and I want the world for you. And he says, remember when we made that promise to each other to try our best to become champions? 100% of the time, he says, I will put my friendship with you above this title. And he talks about how, you know, he let Ospreay encourage Ospreay to enter the Owen. And he says, how did you repay me for that? He talks about a comment Will made to him about how he says it really sucks you gave up on yourself. And I guess I'm trying to jog my memory. It was during an interaction where where Ospreay, where Omega was trying to warn Ospreay.
To warn him about Moxley, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And Will responded, well, maybe maybe I didn't give up on myself yet, just like you did. And Omega says that cut me really deep. And he holds the championship up. I mean, he says, does it look like I gave up? Does this title look like I gave up? He says, even though I gave you plenty of warnings about Moxley, you always acted like you knew better. So what is your excuse now? Ospreay says, my excuse? I came back too early from neck surgery because I wanted revenge. And when I was when I was about to have it, it slipped from my fingers. And Kate, this is when my stream ended on my AEW, and unfortunately on my AEW, once the stream ends, like there's no way to go back because they have to process the video in order for me to get my spot. I did catch some of this, but in the immediate aftermath of this line, what did Will Ospreay say here? Do you?
Oh, okay, I'm not quite. At what point did you get the feedback? I can try and fill in.
Omega like brings up the plastic bag thing.
Yes.
And I imagine nothing that important in between those points.
Right? No, it was more just Ospreay.
Got it.
And kind of repeating himself a bit. But
so Omega brings up I had to go to Twitter to watch the rest of this. So Omega brings up the plastic bag thing. He said he knew Ospreay was considering doing it. And he says the worst part about it all is that Ospreay looked at him like Kenny should be thanking him for not using it. Ospreay says he had no idea that the Death Riders would do that whole thing, and he says before Ospreay could finish, Omega slaps him, calls him a liar, says, "I thought you were my friend." Ospreay says, "I was your friend." Omega says, is this all a friendship is? A title now. He slaps Ospreay again. He says, you want to talk tough now that you're in front of a live TV camera? Slaps him again. He says, each time you are under pressure, you crumble. And that's why I will always be better than you. He slaps him one more time. And this is when Ospreay retaliates, dropping Omega. He sets up for the hidden blade, but stops just short before hitting it and says, no matter how much I love or respect you, when you put your hands on me, I will kick the shit out of you, bruv. And was there anything more? Because I watched this in Clipboard. Was there anything else to close the segment?
Basically, yeah, like it came back to, this is where I was saying like the thing about him being ready to pull the trigger came out, and he was talking about like he had gotten to this point. He did like a comparison, which is funny. He's like, our 90 minutes are up, extra time is up. Like, good, of course, British guy doing the soccer reference. And the funny thing was, he sort of said like, we're going on to penalties. And the first thing that occurred to me was like, oh, that's an odd thing for a British fan to say, which he then immediately followed up by saying like, and if you know anything about the English team, we're shit at penalties, which they are. But he's like, but you know what? This is my moment. This is when I am going to step up. I am ready to take this on. But like, sort of almost giving himself his own pep talk, like that he was going to be able to, like, without denying anything that Kenny had said. So to say like, no, I'm different now. This is the moment. This is what I've been building towards. This is the match that basically I have to win. And that is where we end with Kenny sort of not retreating up the ramp, but sort of gradually walking away so that Will is the one left in the ring at the end of the segment.
So it looks like there was actually quite a bit, like at least like 3 minutes here by the end here. But at least for most of what I was able to see, I thought this was a home run segment. And as far as like a promo goes, I think like to me, like this might have been the best and most serious Kenny has ever sounded on the mic.
Yeah, this is, I thought, the two segments tonight were both of the sort of setups for All In. You had in Mercedes and Kenny two people who are not necessarily known as being good talkers. They are people who prove themselves through their wrestling, and in both cases, I thought they absolutely killed it. And this was it was a really fascinating dynamic to me because they were not trying to push either of these guys as a babyface or as a heel. They were mixed, and that's very clearly how you're supposed to see them. You're not supposed to like have this like I must cheer this one person and like boo this person. It's like no, it's more it's more complicated than that. But I thought that they both did they both did a great job here, and yeah, in particular Kenny, it was incredible.
Yeah. I think like I already recognize Ospreay like being excellent on the mic. Kenny, yes. I've like he can be, but I don't think he's shown like this level of consistency by performing at this level. So this like his ability to essentially lead the segment like this, doing this like I would say very much like intense paranoid character.
Yeah.
I mean almost like certainly surprised me and shows me that he is incredibly capable of this sort of high level character work if he wanted to do it. So like yes, a double babyface thing, and you understand completely the motivations of both men. Yeah. But of course Kenny is to me leaning more heelish, right? He is the person that we kind of see and understand Ospreay's motivation in it all. But Kenny is not reacting well to it, and he has reason not to react well. But he's showing it in a way that is a lot more unlikable, in that
one of the things that I liked though about what he did was, or at least it's a common frustration that I have with some segments where someone's been like knocked out or whatever, and someone comes to the rescue, and they'll do a segment afterwards, and it's like the person didn't watch back what actually happened. Mm-hmm. In this case, what he was describing was what you saw. Will was thinking, he can say whatever he wants. He was thinking about putting the plastic bag over Kenny's head. Yeah. He did take a long time to actually like come to his rescue. Kenny did get out from the chair by himself, not with Will's help. So it was like, yeah, and Will did look at him at the end as if Kenny owed him a thank you. So there's that like. And of course, you get the one-winged angel at the end as a way of saying, like, "Hey, screw you! I know that I can't really trust you." So it's like I'm getting the jump on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been so impressed by first of all the stuff with Ospreay and Mox, but I never really considered like how they were going to get us from Mox and Ospreay to this, and they did it. They've done it in a really strong way to like, I guess like like take Ospreay far enough to the dark side that it would offend Kenny that Ospreay would even consider like killing him or suffocating him essentially, and all of that in an effort to like make these two hate each other. They've got to that point, and I really buy it now, especially from this performance from Kenny, which was some of the most intense I've ever heard him on the mic.
Yeah. I think this is a show with a lot of very good wrestling, but like the two highlights were the promo segments, Willow, Mercedes, and Ospreay and Kenny.
It's July on the Post Wrestling Cafe, and that means our extensive G1 coverage begins starting July 11th. We're going to have reviews of every single G1 card right up to and including the finals in the middle of August. Plus, Rewind Away takes a look at 2 episodes of Heels. We're also going to be going back to 2005 for a review of WrestleMania 21, and it is the start of our double shot episodes covering this season of Dark Side of the Ring. Plus, we are going to dive into the 3rd season of WWE Unreal. All that and so much more can be yours by signing up to the Post Wrestling Cafe. It gets you XL editions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, Collision Course on a weekly basis, MCU later, and so much more.